It's summer in Kansas City, and high school had been closed for summer vacation. Sunset and her friends had spending a lot of time together. But lately, only about shortly after the summer vacation was started, Applejack was sorry to telling her friends that she won't be hanging around with them so much this summer because there are going to be a lot of work at the farm and also been having a big family reunion which is going to last for a few days. And even at most of that, and Rarity herself, she was going to be quite busy at her boutique. Rainbow, she won't be in town for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, because she was going to a soccer camp. And Fluttershy, she was going to work at the animal shelter for all the time. And Pinkie, Pinkie Pie, she is going to work on at the Sugar Corner Cafe for as a part-time work. And that meant only Sunset with Twilight. But Twilight, though, she was also going to spend a lot of her summer vacation by reading and doing some experiments at her own home. So it meant that Sunset would be just by herself. Even though that she tried to go to see some of her friends if they were not busy enough, like Fluttershy or Rarity. Even they weren't busy as on some points, but they couldn't spend so much time with her, and for some reason that she felt left out, almost an outcast. It was like before all this happened when she got new friends from the beginning. But she knew that her friends have their own parts, their personal jobs and their other interests, and she didn't mind to just be herself. And one day when she was getting home from she was at the park, but when she was getting home, she passed the high school when she suddenly heard this strange sound. She couldn't put a finger what the sound were until when she walked around the corner and saw someone was at the basketball courts playing space basketball by himself. She looked at this guy and she never seen him before. She wondered who he's been and who he is and why is it himself. And then, as he was playing, she was just surprised how good he was at the basketball. And suddenly, he turned around and saw Sunset. He just smiled and waved at her, and she walked up to her. For some reason, she could not say much about herself because as she looked at him, he was so handsome, and it turned out his name was Golden Ace. Golden Ace, though. He had recently moved to Kansas City from a neighbor town. His mother had recently been offered a better position at the local hospital. She was working as a nurse, and so he had been moved there to this Kansas City during the summer vacation. And that was the reason why Sunset had never seen him before. And it turned out during after summer vacation was going to be over, he's going to start at high school. And that surprised though Sunset a bit. But after the team played, they just sat down and just small talked about getting to know each other. It turned out that Golden Ace had just recently moved to Kansas City, only about a few days ago. So he has never been around to get to know any other teenagers after the school. So while his mother was at work, he was often either at their home, watches on TV, or anywhere that he can play practice basketball. It turned out that he was actually a former top student in basketball in his former school. But he decided maybe that basketball was not his thing anymore, so he only played it by himself or perhaps with some friends. And of course, Sunset then asked if he maybe want to play basketball with some others. But the next day, he said that he would like that. But there weren't as much many teenagers around in the area that he knew, and he even said that he was a bit shy to even ask others to play with him. So Sunset probably asked him if she could invite some others that she knew over to the basketball game. So, even though that Golden Ace were still shy, but he agreed. At least maybe this was a good idea to get to know others in town and perhaps maybe to expand his new friendship lines and even trying over his shyness. So he's a fainter, and he even gave her his phone number. And by the end of the evening, Sunset had called a few others, among Flash Sentry, Applejack, and including Fluttershy. Even if she wanted to be like a cheerleader or just watch this basketball game. And she said yes, that she could actually. She had a day off, and Flash. He was very eager to know this golden ace and probably see how good he was in the basketball. Applejack, though, she was also very could spare a few hours from the farm, even at her grandmother. Granny Smith actually allowed her to take some time off from the help around the farm. But the next day, Golden Ace was waiting at this basketball course with just himself when Sunset appeared with Fluttershy, Applejack, and with Flash. Everyone was just eager to know him. They spent a few minutes talking to him, but get to know him better. And after that, Sunset decided to be the judge. Or to the least, it's going to be a match between. Well, actually, when she said that, Fluttershy decided she wanted to be the judge. So there would be Flash with Applejack and Sunset with Golden Ace in a game. And after almost a few minutes, everyone has a great time. For this reason, though, even that Golden Ace has slowly to get open up and even start to get to know the others a bit better, he was still a bit shy. But after the game was over, he had actually gained new friends. And not only that, he had started to like Sunset a bit more. And after everyone had gone home, except for Sunset, which she wanted to stay behind just to talk more to Golden Ace. Golden Ace and Sunset then left the basketball courts and went to his home. He offered her something to drink or something to eat since his mother would be working quite late. So she didn't mind that, and he made some lasagna for them both, and they actually had a good time. They watched some TV and just watched some TV movies and just talking. And just about a few days later, Sunset got a call from Rarity. And it turned out that Rarity had been talking to Fluttershy and Applejack about this new guy, Golden Ace. Rarity was a little bit eager to know more about this particular guy, since Sunset had spent more time with him than the others. She wanted to know more about him, like what he's like, what his personality is, some just random questions. But after that she had asked some questions and answered, Rarity then dropped the big question. If that rare Sunset had a crush on Golden Ace. But Rarity, she was denied of the question. Because Sunset denied if any involvement of romantic towards Golden Ace. Rarity was just a bit surprised because after that, what Applejack could notice how much they were interacting together. each other. But Golden Ace, in Sunset's mind, was just a great friend. And of course, Rarity didn't want to push more about this particular question because she knew that it could end up more of anger tone from Sunset. And when school was once again started, they were having a meeting at the school gym when where Principal Celestia and Vice Principal Luna were informing everyone about the new student, Golden Ace. And of course, Luna had asked if there was any other students who would be willing to guide around Golden Ace at the school, showing around where they had to find some places. And of course, Sunset was the only one who was willing to stand up, so she did. And for some of her friends, including Rarity the most, thought maybe this could have been a sign that Sunset actually were in love with Golden Ace. We did not notice it. But in fact, Sunset wasn't even in love with him at all. She just wanted to pay this new guy with kindness and generosity. And after all, he has been a great friend to her. Even the most, Rarity has spent some time with the others trying to explain that maybe Sunset didn't realize that she may have some sort of feelings for Golden Ace. Even though she maybe want to try to somehow trigger these feelings for Golden Ace. But Applejack, she was most of all against the entire idea. She told Rarity not to involve in either their personal lives because if she did, it could have backfired, or it could have an opposite disaster. It could have been opposite effect. Even if that she believes that either Golden Ace or Sunset have feelings for each other, what if Rarity's plan to make it even backfire, like has a different side effect? Even if Applejack tried to convince Rarity not to do anything, even if she tried to talk to either Golden Ace or Sunset about this, or set them up for a secret date, I Applejack even mentioned, "Don't do it, Rarity. Don't do it. It will only backfire against you. And you don't want to mess around with Sunset's life." Rarity, though, didn't want to listen. Even the others were also almost on Applejack's side. They even said to Rarity not to do anything that would jeopardize their new friendship. Because they didn't want to jeopardize Sunset's new friendship with Golden Ace. Even if the Golden Ace perhaps wasn't even in love with Sunset. Because only a few weeks after that, Rarity saw that Golden Ace was actually been hugging and kissing at a girl in the school. And from her plans that she was actually going to propose that Sunset would set up a secret date with Golden Ace. But now knowing that Golden Ace actually had a girlfriend, her plans was to almost immediately gone. She gave up hope on that. But after thinking, what if this was actually some sort of a trick? Maybe pretend that he has as a girlfriend, but in fact been dating Sunset all along. After that, she had tried to follow Sun Golden Ace for a few days, but she gave up. She realized after so much figuring out about following him around, just studying him, it turned out this girl was in fact Golden Ace's true girlfriend. So she gave up. And after about 2 months, the disbanding news spread across the entire school. Golden Ace and his girlfriend had broken up, and he took it very hard. This was his first girlfriend in quite some time. And Sunset, though, she was the first to get to know this. So she offered Golden Ace to take him to the Sugar Cube Cafe to have something to eat and try to ease his pain of that. And she realized something about him that was very interesting. After the first meeting at the school, she remembers that she thought he was quite handsome, and she still do think that. And then she asked him if that he would go out with her on a date. He was very surprised because he just recently broken up with his ex-girlfriend, and now Sunset asked him out. She knew that he probably, if he even still said no, she wouldn't have even persisted to do it anymore. But he said yes. Was actually willing to give her a chance. And of course, they thought this was going to be a secret, but it wasn't. Because only a few days after the first date, everyone at the school did knew about them. But your friends were actually very surprised. Even Rarity. She even asked Sunset why suddenly she'd been dating Golden Ace, and that once she said she was even in love with him, or at least interested in him. But Rarity was told from Sunset Point that she was actually willing to give that as a chance, and she was actually there to comfort him after the breakup. So she just wanted to be kind and perhaps take him out for a day, just cheer him up a little bit. And this date ended up to lead to another date, and at some point later on to be actually official dating. Rarity though, she was really surprised at even that after all her talk to her friends, she had actually very right that Sunset would be dating Golden Ace in the first place. But at some point in Sunset's life, she was actually very eager to know more about Golden Ace. But it was after some point when Golden Ace found out about more of Sunset's mystical background. When he found out she was actually a pony in a human form from an ultimate dimension or something. And first, he actually didn't believe it. He even said that right in his face. He didn't believe any of those stories. Even Ryan, her friends tried to confirm it was real, but he didn't even want to listen to that. That broke her heart. She even told them right away, if you don't want to believe me, then we are over. And she just ran away home. Golden Ace, though, he was a big surprise. Even Applejack and Twilight, they have a serious talk with him. Then they try to convince him there is a different world where Sunset is from, where she used to be a pony or elite unicorn, and that she can't take him back there to prove it. And of course, he didn't want to believe any of this. But after considering how much she means to him, so he agreed. So Sunset, even that she didn't want to do anything with him anymore, Applejack managed to convince her that if she could prove that she is in fact a pony from a different world, that would make him believe her again. After considering from thinking about it, after so much thinking and conversation about this, and she agreed. She agreed to take him with to his hotel, to the statue by the school. So when he was waiting there with Applejack, when Sunset arrived, he asked her, "So where is this portal you're talked about?" And then Sunset pointed at the statue there, and they actually walked through it. And they actually ended up at Twilight's castle. and he was unbelievably shocked. He couldn't even believe that he was a unicorn. He was a unicorn like herself. But after all this big shock was over, he actually believed Rare Sunset. They stayed in Equestria only for about a few hours in that time and went back. From that moment, he strongly believed her, and from that, they never thought about anything else. But it was something about her mysterious background. Golden Ace wanted to know more about why she left Equestria in the first place and never returned. Sunset first didn't want to talk about this. This was a painful memory of hers. But after all, she had proven the right that she was a pony, and she believes that he deserves to know exactly why she had just ran away from her home. So, after that, he didn't bother to ask much about herself though. She was actually quite happy that she had him in her life. And a few years later, after they finished school, they were actually living together in Sunset's apartment. Sunset, though, she was still working at the sushi bar at the mall, and she had been promoted to assistant manager. What about Golden Ace? What happened to him? Actually, he started working at the same sports shop as Rainbow. They were actually good friends, and there was in fact Rarity. Rainbow had been suggested this store for him to work at, and he was actually quite interested in that place. And the manager of the place of the store actually hired him after that Rainbow suggested it. And after they had been dating for a few years, Golden Ace had actually told Rainbow, Applejack, and Rarity of one big secret. He was going to propose to Sunset, and which all of them were actually very eager to know how it went. And after that, Golden Ace had actually proposed to Sunset. She couldn't believe it. She said yes immediately. Not only that, Golden Ace, he was happy that she said yes. When both the families were, at least Golden Ace's mom was happy to know that her son was getting married. Even that Sunset was actually getting very along with his mother. And then, when the day came, everyone was really excited. Not only that, for Sunset, this was the biggest day in her life. Seeing seeing Golden Ace in the tuxedo made her heart beating a bit more faster. She was so nervous. And even Golden Ace was so nervous he was almost about to faint by the altar. But he didn't. Even his best man, Flash, had tried to convince him not to do it, even tried to keep him awake from not fainting. And after the wedding ceremony, everyone had this a great time. They even went to Paris for about a week, and they had this amazing time. When they came back, they had entered a new chapter in their lives together. About approximately 3 years later, they were expecting a baby, and Sunset was really over the moon, overjoyed to be a mother. But then the unfortunately thing happened. Sunset lost her baby after only a few weeks pregnant. She was so very happy to be a mother, but knowing that she had lost her baby, she took it very hard. She barely ate. She barely left her own to bed. And even Golden Ace was also excited. But knowing that the lost of the baby wasn't, he took it very hard on himself. But he tried to move on. But Sunset, she refused to even listen to anyone. But after her friends tried to talk to her, that things like this happens, and they said if she doesn't even want to be effort to do anything with Golden Ace, their marriage might be over, and he might just divorce her and leave town. She knows that, and knowing how much he really means to her, she decided to just stop. And after a lot of time, she got better. And about a year later, they were found out they want to go on to be parents again. This time, Golden Ace was still excited to be a dad. Even Rare Sunset was really happy to be a mother. But at the same time, she was very, very scared. She was scared that she was going to lose a baby a second time. But Golden Ace told her not to think like that. Never think of that for a second. And always be happy. As the weeks passed, as the months passed, she still had a baby. But even when she was about 8 to 9 months pregnant, she was very scared she would lose the baby at any point, at any moment. But when she was holding her baby after she was born, all that was changed. Seeing her own daughter in her arms, like a flood of pure emotions, joy, proud, sadness, all at once. Seeing how much she was crying by holding her own daughter in her own arms. She was beyond happy, knowing she was now a real mother. And only 3 years later, Sunset announced not only to her friends and Golden Ace, they were expecting a more baby. And this time turned out to be a boy. And even though that this second baby came, Santa was still a bit scared that he would probably lose this baby, but she always remembers Golden Ace's words. Keep it positive. And she did. And only 2 years later, they actually were expecting twins. But this time, two daughters. Even Sunset were expecting, I was very surprised that we were having twins. But nevertheless, though, both of them was really happy to have at least 4 kids together. And that is how Sunset Shimmer and Golden Ace, by their true love, got a big family together. The end.